Gun Power Q1S, cold shots, first impressions. I did have shot thoroughly and carried the P11, the hammer fired version of this. Carried that for a year or so. Striker fired one, fired it once at a media event like 5 years ago, and that's about it. A little bit on the small side for my hands. The grip feels slippery. The grip feels slippery in holding it, but while firing I didn't have any issues there. Trigger is nice and crisp. This is the updated striker fired trigger from Gun Power, since the earlier one was really light and had no definable wall. Great for burning mags, but maybe a liability for carry. This is a little bit crisper, a little more responsible, I think. Works pretty well for me in my XXL hands. I'm curious to see how it's going to work in Tia's hands.
So my absolute first time holding, touching, seeing, we're shooting this gun.
Forgot to mention earlier, we've got a reduced size torso at about 25 yards. That apparently is stupidly easy to hit.
Yeah, it's going to be a fun review. Let's get on with it.
So coming up next, we have full magazine +1 as basic reliability. Then we'll get into what's for dinner, see what the gun eats, our spinner target for sights and trigger control, then some accuracy, and our concluding thoughts. Full magazine +1 using Freedom Munitions 115 grain. This is to test the mag and the gun's ability to run loaded like that. Gotta say, these mags are a whole lot stiffer than the Gun Power mags that I remember from the past. I don't know if something's changed or what the deal is. I'm gonna try to burn down at that steel. May or may not be hitting it every time. Just ding it home for me if I don't make dings here for you. Why did I go so dang fast? Because this trigger can. And that's fun. Yeah, I missed. But notice we didn't have any cycling issues and the slide locked open on empty. Now let's see what the gun eats. Crowd favorite, what's for dinner time? Thanks to our Ammo Squared patron supporters and donations, we're able to show you 10 different loads running through this gun. And as I go by them, you'll notice that they all have different shapes, overall lengths, the ogives in different places. We've got different case materials. What we're testing here is to see, does it load from slide lock? Is there enough energy to cycle again? And does it lock open on empty? The third round reduces variables. Testing more than 3 rounds would be great, but it would take too long, cost too much, and just be testing the magazine, not the gun. Yeah.
At circle number 1, we will be putting the Winchester Super Clean 90 grain zinc core full metal jacket lead-free.
.com. I don't know. So things that long seem like they need to be an address.
That dang trigger, I tell you.
Those were snappy.
I thought they were nice.
Grew pretty well.
Hornady's Critical Defense Light. These are 100 grain. They've got the pink polymer in them for circle number 2. You got to make sure you're ready to shoot that gun before you put a finger on the trigger, I tell you what. And on circle number 3 will be Norma's monolithic hollow point. These are 108 grain. Really fun gun to shoot. And for circle number 4, we've got the Winchester Silver Tip 115 grain defense jacketed hollow point.
Quick on the trigger that time. Nice group. Uh-oh. Do we have something that Tia likes?
And for circle number 5, we have the Wolf. These are steel cased, 115 grain, full metal jacket. We shoot steel and brass to...
Steel and aluminum expand and contract at a different rate than brass does, and also have different friction in the chamber, which can cause them to sometimes stick, not feed well, or not eject well. That's why we run it in the test. That Wolf is always snappy. But accurate. Circle 6, we've got Blazer's 115 grain aluminum case. Circle 7, Federal Premium, the good stuff. Punch 124 grain. Nickel plated case. Printed very nicely. Circle 7 Spear Lawman 147 grain TMJ. These are snubby, but a little pointier than your standard 147 snubbies are. Punchier.
You can feel the percussion of those.
Circle 9 is the Federal Syntec Action Pistol 150 grain with the lipstick red plastic coating on it.
Ooh.
Man, that's a quick trigger. Oh, there's that cinnamon smell we always get from those. Circle 10 from Ammo Incorporated. This is their Stealth 165 grain TMC. Awesome stuff for suppressors. What's it do in a subcompact pistol? Find out. Shot very nicely. Yeah, what you see in there is our Titan Grenador's 6-inch spinner target. We're about 15 yards away or so. The goal here is to test our ability to learn the sights and time hits, as in learn the trigger, as this thing starts to swing.
Ah.
That was probably your best hit percentage, but it looked like you were hitting a little sooner than you intended on a couple of them.
So when you guys spin the spinner successfully every time, I noticed that you shoot faster, and because this gun is easier to shoot faster, I thought I would test the trigger and see if I could, you know, make it spin faster. My plans don't always work out according to what I think they will. I could do it with this, with more time. I'm overcoming a little bit of trigger reach, I think. So for me, that is definitely the learning curve where this gun is concerned, aside from the fact that the trigger is just so spontaneous. Sights were perfect. This would be a gun to do that with really quickly every time if you practiced and practiced to impress anybody.
All right, here we go, 10 rounds.
Once is enough.
Interesting though at how little it was moving with those hits. Now my hits might have been a little bit high. We unfortunately ran out of paint, so we weren't able to clear it up between hands. But this being a subcompact, we do have a shorter barrel, so we've got less energy, and the Freedom Munitions 115 grain isn't exactly the hottest stuff out there either. Just like Tia though, I was able to get the hits fairly easily, fairly intuitive sights and trigger. Just earlier I was complaining about the rear sight, which you guys have seen in the tabletop video. The dots are so big and bright in comparison to the front sight post that they're almost kind of distracting. I prefer the other way around. Big bright up front, small dim in the back. But obviously if you're wanting to time a precise shot, it's very possible with the Q1S.
So for accuracy portion, we're about 7 yards away. We'll shoot 5 rounds of the Nosler ASP 115 grain. And I'll be aiming at the left circle square. Like that. That's what I'll be doing.
I will also be using the Nosler ASP 115 grain as I attempt to follow up Miss Tia's group on the right circle square. And it would appear that my ear pro has come a little loose, because this stuff is suddenly much louder than it used to be. I think I have my own.
So my overall impressions of the Grand Power
Q1S.
What he said, Q1S. It's a great size. It's a really comfortable weight. I need a little bit more, I need the trigger a little bit closer to me. This is causing some adjustment, I'm not sure exactly where without psychoanalyzing anything, to determine what it is, but it's changing my grip and makes holding on to the recoil a little bit difficult, given that it's a smaller gun and there's more recoil at the front. So that would be my only negative about this. It fits my hands perfectly. I can shoot it well. I could shoot it better with more time behind it. It's got the ambi controls, which I don't normally use, but came in handy this time because it's still stiff. And so having an opposite side to work from, I was able to drop my mag during, one of them was not fun to get out. So all positives. I'm not having any issue with the sights, but I do prefer when there are fiber optics or some other kind of contrasting front sight. Nothing but praise for Grand Power.
Coming from the P11 to the Q1S, really minimal change other than there's only one trigger to learn, one trigger to master. This trigger, despite Grand Power being hammer-fired people, is pretty dang nice for a striker-fired gun. I know folks love to rave about Walther and Canik triggers. If you're one of those guys, you may want to try one of these, because this is it's pretty fine. I'm not sure if I'd like it as a carry trigger. A little bit on the light and short for my preference, but then again, I'm a DASA hammer-fired guy. I carry a K100 decocked for that double action first shot. But shootability wise, thing's pretty awesome, and despite the texturing not being very aggressive, it feels not slick, but it feels smooth in dry handling it. The gun did not try to walk out of my hand either. I was still able to get a good hold on it. No reliability issues as expected. The mags do seem like they've maybe changed quality a little bit, but they're also very fresh mags. A lot of my Grand Power mags are years old and have had hundreds if not thousands of rounds cycled through them, so of course they feel looser than something fresh out of the box. The subcompact size has kind of been forgotten recently in American trends, but that doesn't mean it's irrelevant. You've still got a nicely sized gun that would be very easy to conceal, which is why I carried a P11 for a while before I decided to move to the K100. Striker guys, especially striker trigger snobs, you have no excuse not to try ground power now. Thanks for watching.